Where's that light coming from?
Hello, everyone. This is Mark Monlux, and you are watching Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is an online drawing group that's been around between 6 or 7 years. We're going to go in by order of appearance. I would like everyone to announce who they are, what their city is, and the project that they're going to be working on today. And that, I'm sorry, I got, okay, stop. Sorry. Apparently my my YouTube video was going in the background. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we lost Anne. Apparently she didn't want to be recorded. So, or maybe she didn't want to show herself. I should have. Anyway, Katie, you're up first.
I am Katie Crown, and I am a new artist, and I come out here and hang out with these professional artists to learn about Procreate and just art technique and talk about movies. And I'm from Bonnie Lake, Washington.
Bill, you're next.
I am Bill Morse. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator in Seattle, Washington, and I'm working on some Sunday strips today. And since the concept of references came up before we started recording, I have a book that I found at the library that I really have to show off. Anybody seen this before?
Typeset in the Future. I've not seen that book.
Oh, it's awesome. It's talking about all of the font choices in Star Trek's Blade Runner 2001, Space Opera, Odyssey, etc. And lots of other little details. And it is, I'm still reading it, but it's definitely on my check if it's on Amazon list.
I still have a personal beef against Avatar. When it comes to the font selection.
Are we talking about we're talking about the movie, since I don't think you'd be, because the other Avatar is just all Chinese calligraphy.
Right, yes, I'm talking about the James Cameron blockbuster movie Avatar, which is I really enjoyed as a groundbreaking film and just wonderful science fiction fluff. But why couldn't they pick a font other than Papyrus?
Yeah. Did you ever see that Saturday Night Live sketch about a papyrus thriller?
Yes, I did. I thought a lot of people have climbed onto the bandwagon. Matter of fact, there's even a blog where someone that shows bad use of papyrus that's constantly being sent to them. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are actually going to be talking about some Procreate tips.
Okay.
So here's a tip that we're going to run through once again for Katie so that she can show off her screen. The first thing Katie will do is she'll go down to the bottom of the screen here and she'll click on the green button that says share screen. That'll pop up a menu, and one of the options will be a iPad/iBook or iPhone AirPlay. She'll click that icon, and then she'll go to her tablet, and on her tablet, go up to the top right-hand corner where it shows the power sign, and you drag down until you get the option that says screen mirroring. You select that, and then you touch your tablet. Go ahead and touch. There we go. Now, Katie, touch. Now you can go into Procreate. Now, in some programs on the iPad, you can do this directly, but for some reason, Procreate doesn't let you see the power button menu, and therefore, if you can't see it, you can't drag it down. So you have to do it outside Procreate. If anyone knows a way of getting around that, I would love to hear it.
Regrettably, I have not discovered that one yet.
Yeah, me neither. I just learned this today, so this is great.
Isn't it fun? And I love this cat. This is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. One of the things that you taught me as well is, and I just kind of learned it, was because Photoshop is not my jam yet, and I'm sure I'll learn it eventually. When I drew the card, I knew that I wanted to put a lot of different images in it. So I decided to do this way, but I think you could probably also import this canvas to your other image. But you can do this thing called copy canvas. I copied the other canvases, made a new layer, and then pasted them in here so that I could switch between the different ones and then just export it. And then I have a layer, which I didn't know you could do text until the other day in Procreate. I thought I was actually going to have to possibly draw all my letters, or put it in a different program, but I found it, and I have all my different card titles on here. And then one of the things that you taught me was also focusing on having the different colors and
in a palette.
Yeah, so that we did that. So I have different palettes that I've been working on. This doesn't look like much, but this was actually a palette I was using for a different, let me see, for a different picture. Now I did do this thing called a stack, still do not know how I did it, but this is the one that palette was made for, because the skin tone is such a pain. And I'm using a lot of reds and oranges, and I just kept her neck is just getting thinner and thinner, even though the neck of the model is actually kind of thick in the picture. I realized after talking to several artists that even if something looks one way in a photo and you're trying to draw it, maybe you shouldn't do it that way, because people's eye can't appreciate that in a piece of art. So they're like, you need to make her neck thinner. So I keep just narrowing it until I get the look that's right. But yeah, so that was the palette I created so that I could just go to her red or the orange in her hair or the pink of her shirt and not have to search. And my next big adventure is learning how to use different brushes. Now I know Mark said you don't need to use a lot of brushes, but the one thing I'm finding with Procreate, it's kind of okay to cheat a little bit, because can be really tedious trying to make fur or hair. Like if I had to do every individual strand of her hair, I could do it, but it would take me a really long time, versus I was able to use one of these and, get hair immediately that was functioning and able to be used.
You can also do the same thing inside Photoshop by creating brushes there, just like you can create brushes here. And I showed the hair feature to a friend of mine who was doing Photoshop illustration, who had never made himself a hairbrush in Photoshop. And he's looking at the hair feature in Procreate, and I think that sold him on getting a tablet.
Yeah, this was definitely one that I used that brush on a lot because it's werewolf. But yeah, that's enough for me. But yeah, those are the new tips and tricks I've learned. And
well, I got a couple of things I thought you might enjoy watching. So if you give me back the screen, I will
done.
go ahead and do a screen share. Come on. How come you guys aren't getting it? Let's try that again.
It says you
I-
started sharing.
I know I stopped.
Okay. There we go. That snapped it in. So I'm looking for, here we go. So I'm doing a deck of playing cards featuring obscure movie monsters. Now, or in this case, obscure movie aliens, but I'm pretty sure, Katie, you know this guy.
That is a critter.
Right. Now, one of the things I did was I did this as a pen and ink, and I scanned it. And when I imported it in as a PNG. And I had an inside Photoshop deleted out all the white by simply selecting white and then hitting select all and then hitting delete. And then I exported it out as a PNG. When you do it that way, PNGs allow you to export without a background. As opposed to a JPEG will always put white into your background. So now I can start coloring this. And to color it quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this background back in, but I have, as you can see, this second layer ready to go underneath the first layer because I'm not going to color the black layer. I'm actually going to use it like a coloring book. There is a command. If you click on that layer, you'll get this little side menu that pops up. And one of these side menus is this word reference. So I'm going to click that. Now it's very important at this point to go back to your layer that's down below.
Matter of fact, it's a good idea to lock the reference just to be on the safe side.
That's not a bad idea, Bill. Matter of fact, I'll do that right now. To lock a layer, you click on this little N here. Wait a minute, no, that wasn't it.
You stroke to the left of your finger.
That's right. Thank you. Stroking to the left. I'm going to lock that layer. Now I'm going to go back to the layer underneath and select my palette. And I'm going to select this red and just, whoop.
Oh, the box. Got to click the box.
I gotta click the box.
Oh,
that's right. I didn't have the layer selected. I have to have the layer selected. This little box to the right of the N has to be on. So now I can just select my color and do a drag. And it'll just fill in like a coloring book without having to be on the same layer with the black. It's using the black as a reference on this layer, which is why it's called the reference. If you're going to be doing a lot of quick coloring, what you can then do is do a drag and then quickly go up here, tap that button, move the crosshairs into position, and then everywhere you tap thereafter will also turn red. And that's really nice. So now I'm going to just do some coloring. I'm going to select kind of a darker color. Whoops.
And that's one of the side effects of the one of the personality things of the last trick you had is that it remains the same colors until you switch to another one, and then it transforms that color as well.
Yes, but look how quickly you can go ahead and color things. If you're like, it's almost like being in a coloring book app. But the important thing is that whatever you're clicking in to fill, it has to be completely enclosed. If there's an open area around it, it will also color the background. Like I'll just tap over here and that'll happen. Now, the way I am undoing things is by taking two of my fingers and tapping on the screen. Now I'm trying to get this little fill to go right, and instead I'm accidentally selecting the colors around it. What I'm doing is I'm moving my pen tool back and forth from left to right on the tablet, and you can see it starting to fill in the edge, but this is all because I selected the line by accident. So I need to go in even tighter. And now to fill that out, I just drag the pen to the right. If I drag it to the left, the anti-aliasing won't fill in those little gaps. So I have to drag it to the right to fill it up. Oh, I got one more spot to go here. Oops, didn't fill it up. I have to drag that in and move it to the right. There we go. And you can also just go ahead and color in with a stroke. Again, it will only be coloring that blend area. It will pretty much crop out anywhere else. I'm doing a quick look around to see if there was any areas in my illustration that were anti-aliased out, because I don't like to have little white specks showing up. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in these claws. So I thought that was both of those can save a lot of time. Using the top layer as a reference, I'm going to keep doing that and just fill in these colors. Hey, Bill, do you have something you want to show off? A tip?
Ooh, it's weird. I've never gotten into a lot of the fancy stuff.
Well, while you're thinking about it, I'm going to show another technique that I think Katie might like for using colors. So Katie, if you want your colors to look consistent or have a feel that make it look like they were carefully selected, one of the things you can do is go into your color palette and down at the bottom, select disk. Well, hold on, no, that's the wrong one. You want to select harmony. So here's the color on the, you can see the big color dot is the color that I currently have selected. And the color to the immediate left of it is its an analogous color. Over here, if you see on this color wheel on the top left-hand corner, it says colors, and the word analogous is there. If you click on analogous, another temporary menu pops up that will allow you to show you, if you click on it, the contemporary colors, which is the color opposite on the wheel, or split complementary colors, or you can select the colors that are to either side of the color that you selected on the wheel, or triadic. And then there's tetradic. And if you select one color and then start adding in more colors based on this, all the colors will visually flow together. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to select analogous, and I'm going to select this pink, purple, and I'm going to drag it down into the mouth here. and quickly color my gums on this guy. And now what I'm going to do is I want to go and see what the next color over would be, something pinker than that. So I'm going to select this pink color and then see if I can get it. Let's see. I'm going to have to select a palette. Let's see. Add it to the palette. Now when I go in, I should be able to go to that palette, select that color, go to my harmony. Oh, I'll just drag that over. And that purple's the next color. I'll use that and put that into the gum line. Now, just from a color perspective, all these blues and pinks and reds work together. I'm just not sure if I'm getting them in the right order. I might have to switch them around, but it's a good starting point for me to create my my palette. Now I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to keep coloring like I was. What about you, Bill? Have you come up with something fun?
Ooh, not at the moment. There's a few times where I've done a few, things such as making multiple layers so that I can use the primer, clip mask more efficiently. Sometimes, where did I put? Ah, that's where it is. Sometimes with coloring something complex that I want to shade later on, I'll make multiple layers of one object. Find my example. I mean, I do a lot of shading in my work, probably a little too much sometimes. And the best way to do that without creating too much of a, here we go. So here's a good example. So very frequently I use Clip Studio. I use the clipping mask so the shading doesn't go outside of the figures. But because sometimes you don't want it to go off, bleed on to some of the other things, I frequently deliberately make multiple layers for different parts of the character so that I can make sure all of the shade stays just on that one and isn't in the clothes like so. And not that impressive compared to what everybody else has been showing, but it's been effective. And I've been using the color techniques Mark's been using quite a bit as well, though I haven't been quite as successful with the keeping the overflow under control. And very frequently when I'm doing a lot of the fancy coloring, that's frequently where I will move over to my office computer anyhow. But I've been very much enjoying Procreate because it's definitely done wonders for my productivity. I used to use a fairly old Intuos tablet, and while I'm perfectly competent using that tablet, it always used to take me almost twice as long as it would for me to ink something, to the point where very frequently that turned me into a bit of a Luddite because it was still faster for me to ink something on paper and then scan it in, while on Procreate now I can draw digitally just as fast as I can the old-fashioned way, which has been amazing. To give you all an example, these two, to give you all an example, these two pieces that the Sunday strips that I'm working on right now, a lot of this inking previously would have taken me most of the day, and this one I pretty much inked it all in under 2 hours. Which makes Sunday strips a lot less scary these days.
Are you going to show us all the coloring for it?
Oh, in what?
Because we're only seeing the flesh tone on it.
That's because that's all I've done so far.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought you had it completed.
No, no such luck. But let me see. To give you a better example, if I can find it. But to spell it out, this is what a finished one would look like. And again, it was done in a quarter of the speed that these blasted things would have normally taken me.
You mean a quarter of the time?
Time, yes. Which, as I said, makes me feel much better about my abilities.
So you use Procreate and clip art. Is that what
Yes.
you were saying? Okay, yeah, because I saw you, I was fooling around with this and then I looked up and saw we were in clip art. I have clip art as well. Are you using them both with Mac products or?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, because I bought clip art and then I was able to download it to my Big Mac and then I was able to download it to my PC. But from what I understood, to use it on your iPad, you have to buy a separate license. Is that correct? Or
That's regrettably, to the best of my knowledge, correct. And
okay,
they appear to be using they appear to be, for reasons I don't understand, they do not have the subscription service with the Office one, but yet they seem to for the iOS one, which I do not know why. And so for the time being, I do most of my preliminary sketches on Procreate and most of my inking on Clip Studio Paint, which I use a Sidecar to ink it in the iPad. And Sidecar is the shareware that comes for free on Apple, which does the trick for what I use it. My only reason I don't like it as much as I could is that it doesn't, it's not very good for the pressure sensitive brushes.
gotcha.
Since I mostly am inking, that hasn't become an issue yet, and I mostly do all of the stuff requiring pressure sensitive brushes on Procreate.
Yeah, I have a tablet, and but I just am not very good with I'm just not very good at digital yet. And so it's like trying to do that with the learning to draw with that has just been too hard. Like I don't like the pen for the tablet.
Right.
Some people love them, but it's definitely not the same as working on an iPad. And I prefer the iPad for sure.
Yeah.
And so I just have decided, okay, well, I have this software, and maybe when I get more comfortable in the future, I will figure out how to use clip art. But right now I just want to learn how to use one piece of software at a time.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I continue to use Clip Studio Paint for my coloring is that I can drop colors through multiple layers, whereas with Clip Studio Paint, you can only do it with the reference layer.
Now, what
Yeah.
I'm about to show here is I've duplicated 2 layers. You know, I had both the inside of the mouth and the eyes and the face and the hands on one layer. So I basically I want to just have the skin tone and the gums and the eyes by themselves on the separate layers, like I have all the teeth on a separate layer. There's a rather than just wasting my time with an eraser on this layer, if you go up and you select up by the top where it says gallery, then you have the wrench and the magic tool, then you got that little squiggly tool next to the pointer. Hit that, then you can go in and start dragging a selection and carefully select the stuff that you want to have removed. Go up, hit the selection, pull down with 3 fingers to get this menu, and I just cut it out. And that takes a lot less time than going in and using the erase tool to get something off.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go in and now what I'm going to do is, because I want the mouth, the gums and the eyes to be on 2 separate layers, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. And on one, select the gum and cut it out. And on the other, select the eyes. Oops. Yeah, I'm on the hidden layer. Oops. Gotta cancel that. Oh, I hate it when I cancel my wrong layers. There we go. Okay, so gum layer, teeth layer, eye layer, skin layer, black layer. Now, that mouth is not working for me. So what I think I'll do is put in a regular red underneath, do another layer that's just red, and then tint back the layer that's got all these various hues on it and see how that looks. Anyway, that's, go ahead and stop sharing.
Another, on the subject of deleting, another little simple thing. I found that if the layer that you're working on, this is best for doodling and whatnot, if the doodle that you're doing is a completely lost cause, I found that deleting it in its entirety, just pulling it off the paper and then deselecting works very well.
I have done that at times, but you can also just merge all the layers down together and then just delete the layer
Mm-hmm.
and just give yourself a whole new layer. There's a lot of different ways of quickly getting rid of stuff. So Katie, tell us about what you guys have planned. Is a Texas Nightmare next weekend?
So I am now on vacation. So we're preparing everything and we fly out on Thursday. Very excited to see how this works. Oh, another thing I learned was the Gaussian blur. Is it Gaussian or Gaussian? Gaussian blur. That is so nice. It can really change things as long as you get it on the right layer. Which I just didn't. But yeah, so we were excited to now I'm just going to start hitting back. This is the number one nightmare I'm learning. Know what layer you're on before you color something.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna go, and we were waiting on those COVID tests because we didn't want to go, because I did buy insurance on our tickets, our plane tickets. So if you test positive for COVID or something COVID related happens, you can actually get potentially either reschedule without penalty or get your money back. So we did that. So we were waiting because we didn't want to go down there if we tested positive. We were just going to cancel the trip because we didn't feel like that was responsible thing to do. Would be to go, even though we're both asymptomatic. It just would not be fair to people who are trying to do the right thing. And it's called being a good person. But anyway, so we got those. So now that's one thing off our conscience. So we're going to be going down. I think the state of Texas is not mandating mask in public, but we'll be wearing ours. We don't care. And then we're going to be in the con. And what's really cool about the convention is that they are requiring that people wear a mask.
Oh, they are really. That's
Yes,
great.
we wouldn't be going if they weren't. Now they are not doing you don't have to validate your vaccination, which is fine. But they are requiring that you wear a mask. And so I appreciate that. And that is the only reason we chose to continue to go for this year instead of delaying it until next year, was because um, we wanted to support the con. It's a really great convention. And yeah, and we had the opportunity to go, but we definitely are going to be trying to take a lot of precautions. There's even people that like we really like that we've met down there, but it's like you just have to be so careful. And so like some of the people we know that we will go out to dinner with or something, like we know they're vaccinated and in general responsible people. So we're not too worried about it with them, but still going to be careful because you just don't want to be one of those people spreading it and making things worse for everyone else. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, because when I heard that I needed to get myself tested, my brother always had what he called the day before Labor Day party. And I knew my mom was going to be there because she loves to get out of the house because she's just been going nuts
right.
and very stir crazy. But I also knew that I wasn't going to be the one to give my mom COVID.
Yeah.
I wanted, so I was fortunate. I was able to on Saturday go in at 1 o'clock, get tested, and have my results back. They popped in at 9 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
So really fast turnaround. Thank you, Kaiser Permanente, for that.
Yeah, we went to the Washington State checkpoints, that they have, and we had no issues. They were really great about they really don't even care too much where you've been. Like, I guess if you're positive, they're gonna call you and be like, hey, like we need to do contact tracing. But she said that, they just want to keep people home if they have COVID and keep them from spreading it to other people. So yeah, and it was very quick and painless, and we just drove up and stuck a swab in our nose. Now, I was still working on the doing clinical nursing when everything broke out with COVID, and so the swab has changed significantly. Like,
Oh yeah, they don't go and they don't
to your
try
brain.
yeah, they do not go that far back anymore.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The one time I took the test, that was a little too deep for comfort.
Yeah, I with the nasopharyngeal swab always reminds me of, regardless of why you're testing someone, it reminds me of like in high school we did like this exhibit history fair where like all the high schoolers like picked a topic and then we had to do research and then we dressed up and presented it to like all these elementary kids. So me and this other girl did Egyptian mummification, and so every time
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it always it makes me cringe when I'm hearing the details.
Well, I won't go into the gory details, but when you're putting that nasopharyngeal swab up in there, it reminds me of us demonstrating mummification as Egyptians in high school.
Yes, those lovely Coptic cases.
Yeah, well, and it's so, there's just different people. They have different, I know even locally, we were in Walmart yesterday, and some people are still not wearing a mask, and I'm like, I'm not going to be the police. It's going to be on your conscience if you get someone in your home or your family really sick, and they end up in an ICU, and we just don't want to be those people. Like, we're not going to see Tim's parents for a couple days until we get tested and we know we're symptom free when we get back to, because we don't want to get them sick. So
Yeah, I wear mine indoors, period.
yeah.
And
So
just having it on you to maintain the habit makes it easy. And
yeah.
I mean, technically, I don't need it. I got vaccinated just fine, but it's sort of common sense and common courtesy.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've never done in the US, but
Common courtesy. Yeah, let's go for that.
well, yeah, well, but that's not, that is something I've seen a lot of people talking about, is that like we value independence and individuality in most contexts. I'm not going to go into get political here, but in a lot of contexts, whereas other countries, it's like the greater good is more valued, and we don't know that concept. It's not like something we really know that well. Because I actually had coworkers that would wear masks whenever they would have colds, and I would be like, "Why are you doing that?" And they're like, "Duh, so I don't spread this cold to everybody in this clinic." And I'm like, "I'm a healthcare provider. I should know that." So,
Yeah, because it's funny. I live in the university district, which I'm convinced has more Chinese residents than the international district, and you can tell when somebody has a cold.
yeah,
It's very. And as a matter of fact, it was an interesting way of measuring COVID paranoia last year, when the number of round eyes wearing the masks started outnumbering the Asians.
So yeah, so I think it's something that is going to become more commonplace in the US, but it's just something before last year we just didn't see, we didn't know, and I hope that it does start to be something that we adapt to all the time. Plus, culturally, women have to smile all the time when they're in public, and so I really enjoy wearing a mask because then I don't have to smile. And that's my own selfish reason that it doesn't bother me to wear a mask. Yeah, but yeah, I guess I wouldn't have to smile if I really didn't want to at people, but I feel pressured to. But yeah, so that's talking about Texas. That's us. We're preparing things. I'm matting frames. I hope I sell better than Crypticon. There was incredibly tough competition for a newbie artist like myself, so I didn't feel too bad. I sold 4 prints, and overall I felt that I was fine and confident with that, because the amount of people that were there who were artists and the level that they had compared to me, I was like, I sold something, I'm winning, it's okay.
And the thing is that you have to learn not to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
And just like, I think my art's very schlocky, you know, but there are people who just love, they see the joy that you're putting into it, and they'll just come, and you'll develop fans so quickly. You'll get a fan base, and they will remain loyal to you too.
Well, I know I was talking to a lady because I didn't bring any of my screaming women, and we were just chit-chatting about my books, because I was actually really shocked. My books have been out for years, and I've sold them at Crypticon before, and I've not sold any. I was really surprised to find new audiences this year at Crypticon that I wasn't expecting, because we were mostly promoting Tim's books. And so for people to be like, "Oh, what is this book?" And Tim's like trying to sell his books to people, and my books are right there, and he's like, "Oh, that's my wife's books." And then they were like, "Oh, can I talk to you about your book?" And then I'm like, "By the way, would you like a piece of art?" So it was fun, and it was good to be back out in the convention community for sure. Oh my
Was
gosh.
this your first show in a while since the pandemic started?
Yes, it was my first show, and it was my second or third art show in the Northwest, or con where I've actually worked. I've sold, but I've kind of like you were saying, you just got to find your audience, and I think I'll find it. It's really funny. Someone who's an artist, and I feel like he's very talented. He's actually a fan of my art. And he's always always buying my stuff or encouraging me. And I'm like, oh my God, you're a weirdo because you're such a way better artist. Why would you like my stuff? And he's like, because I know that it amuses you to draw it. And so then it amuses me. I was like, okay, whatever, give me the money.
Well, there are sometimes, like when I look at your art, I see the choices that you're making, and I'm kind of going, "Oh wow, look at that choice." I would have. Why do I stop making a choice like that? That's such a great choice.
Well, I'm learning, and I'm so grateful to be hanging out with guys like you and Bill, and learning. And I know you were talking to people and trying to kind of let them know about Epic Sketch. And I think that, sometimes I have not encountered this with, this is so fascinating to me, but I have not encountered this with artists as much as writers, where artists have been so much more helpful than writers in helping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a really unique experience for me. I have felt more like I have gotten more technical help, but I think it's also the reason why I've gotten more technical help is because, getting art help is visual, right? And somebody has to read your work, or you have to read theirs to get that help as a writer. And with like you and I just sat down for 10 minutes at Crypticon with our iPads, and you helped me with a couple things I didn't even know I needed help with, and improve my art in minutes versus, somebody has to read, critique your writing, and then people will argue about plot points and this and that. And it's like, when you're doing art skills, it's like, okay, this is how you do this is how you do this, and however you use that to make your art is cool by me, whatever. So yeah.
Well, guys, believe it or not, it is 5:30. You've wasted another hour of your time and effort watching us talk about art, and maybe some of the tips that we shared will be useful to you. I'm going to see what I can do about posting this on Procreate Party for the people that are regulars there.
Oh, fun.
I look forward to hearing back from you, Katie, next week to find out just how well things go in Texas.
Oh, I hope they go well. Guys, wish me good luck selling some of these prints we've been printing out here. And that's another thing we'll have to talk about another day, is printing prints.
Oh, yes. I got lots to talk about there.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Bill.
Bye.